Hello there. This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well, and in this video we're going to be talking about how Daisy Ridley has recently defended her Star Wars controversial Rey decision that we saw in the sequel trilogy. We're going to go ahead and we're going to hop right on into it. In this video we're going to be taking a read from the Direct's article. I'll have their article linked in the description down below for you guys to check out there as well. Before we get started in this video, I want to know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Is it Rey Skywalker or is it Rey Palpatine? What is your, I guess, evidence and your reasoning behind that there as well? I would love to hear you guys all think in the comments down below. As the Direct's article goes on the read, the Rise of Skywalker star Daisy Ridley recently commented about how she feels regarding some of the big changes the 9th film made into relation to her character's heritage, and defended Lucasfilm's approach to it as well. The sequel trilogy is really a sore subject for many. Some key canon choices are passionately hated by the fanbase. One of those story choices is Rey's parentage. In Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi, audiences are expressively told that the character comes from nobodies. Her parents aren't important. However, as we later learn in Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, it turns around and reckons that notion completely, instead of shocking viewers by revealing that Rey is the product of a clone of Emperor Palpatine himself. Now, the star behind Rey Skywalker, Daisy Ridley, herself offered some updated thoughts on that particular story beat. In a recent interview with Rolling Stone, Daisy Ridley, who portrayed Rey from the most recent sequel trilogy in Star Wars, commented on how the big twist regarding her character's true parentage and defended the choices made by the movie. Ridley's answer was diplomatic in nature, but she supported the change, nothing that she enjoyed the message of how can you be a hero and come from literally the worst person in the entirety of the universe, such as, in this case, a clone of Emperor Palpatine himself, saying that in full quotes, J.J. Abrams was the one who was like, she is of no one, so it wasn't just The Last Jedi where that was the message. What was interesting about the last one for me was that you can be a hero and not come from anywhere, or you can be a hero and come from literally the worst person in the universe, ending that quote right there. Daisy Ridley goes on to point out how she was also loved the mantra, you can be anyone you want to be, saying that in full quote, you're not your parents, you're not your grandparents, you're not your bloodline, and you're not your generations before you. So I always was like, sure, but it's beyond my pay grade. I say the words, do the thing. I love the version of you can be anyone you want to be, but I also love the version where you can rectify wrongs and can't help what you're born into, ending that quote right there. And it's honestly kind of funny she's saying that I'll say the line and do the thing that you want me to do as long as I get paid, sorta kinda. Of course, it doesn't take away that Daisy Ridley is really a big Star Wars fan herself. I think that just about anybody and everybody that has worked on Star Wars themselves are really big Star Wars fans. Of course, as us being in the Star Wars fandom, the Star Wars community, it's such a tug of war. It's Rey Palpatine, it's Rey Skywalker type of thing, and she's at a point, I think a lot of us are at a point of where it's just like, I don't really care at this point. You can believe whatever you want to believe at this point. Anyway, the article goes on to read that previously, while speaking to the New York Times, the Rise of Skywalker director J.J. Abrams stated in relation to some of his story adjustments to that movie that he doesn't think that people go to Star Wars to be told this doesn't matter, saying that in full quote, The Last Jedi is full of surprises and subversion and all sorts of bold choices. On the other hand, it's a bit more of a meta approach to the story. I don't think that the people go to Star Wars to be told that this doesn't matter. The Last Jedi was a story that I think needed a pendulum swing in one direction or in order to swing in the other, ending that quote right there. And I have to agree with that, and that is kind of what J.J. Abrams previously did do before with The Force Awakens, of course. That is what The Force Awakens was. That was the point of it, to set everything up here that we were going to be seeing going forward with The Last Jedi and with The Rise of Skywalker as well. Now, my personal take on this, of course, it might come out as a little bit controversial, but at this point, what isn't really that touchy of a subject when it comes to the sequel trilogy? So that being said, I think that The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi are amazing movies, and in my own thoughts and opinions, it's The Rise of Skywalker for me that just isn't good whatsoever. I think that the whole Last Jedi, it had a beginning part there of where you're being told that these characters are really just nobodies, and I think that is interesting, but I think if The Rise of Skywalker kind of took that and rolled with it a little bit more there, I think it would have been in a much better place, of course. It's a little confusing how Daisy Ridley called attention to how J.J. Abrams was the one who informed her that she is of no one, when it was his film, The Rise of Skywalker, that made the claim otherwise, which is just another, like, one of those things that just doesn't connect the dots all that much. And I get the whole thought process, of course, of the fact that things change and move around, of course, when you're doing this stuff, but that was also part of the problem with the sequel trilogy. The biggest problem is that they just started making these movies without any type of roadmap necessarily or any plan, and that is something again that J.J. Abrams himself has kind of confirmed and really, I guess, submitted to, essentially saying that yeah, we were just kind of going full steam ahead and didn't really have all that much of a plan. However, regarding J.J. Abrams and that thought as well, as the director's article goes on to continue to read, she's likely referring to his words when working on The Force Awakens, when no solid choices had been made regarding her overall heritage, and that, like, thus far, of course, which of course once again just relies on the whole thing that I just said here, that these movies weren't planned really all that much. While talking with USA Today bestseller author Sarah Wilson, the actress told how her love for her character came from nowhere for the first two films. She went on to clarify that she literally was told that she was no one. For those of you that don't know who Sarah Wilson is that she is the author who recently interviewed Rian Johnson on saying that yes, Rian's Star Wars trilogy is still on and that type of thing there. She's kind of like a media reporter, essentially. And she really just kind of further backs up that claim, that saying that for the first two films, The Force Awakens and With the Last Jedi, is that she literally was told that she was a no one when referring to Rey. And then, of course, I get the whole spoiler territory and everything like that. You don't want to spoil things like that, but it is something that reaffirmed, has been, like, confirmed at the same time from J.J. Abrams, saying that, hey, these movies didn't really have that much of a roadmap all that much. We were kind of just flying blind on in here. Now, from the direct article continues to go on to read that how the sequel trilogy has changed Star Wars and its overall trajectory for when it comes to storytelling. Despite Daisy Ridley attempting to defend Lucasfilm for its choices on The Rise of Skywalker, it's clear it's made some terrible choices. In fact, the latest Star Wars film landed so poorly that it single-handedly iced Lucasfilm's theatrical plans kind of overall, although that is kind of, I think, a little bit leaping a little bit too far, jumping to conclusions a little bit far. After The Rise of Skywalker and the whole Skywalker saga, it is something that we did know about, like that they wanted to take a little bit of a break here, a hiatus from like Star Wars movies in theaters and everything like that until they move on to the next bunch of movies that will be hopefully announced later this year in April at Star Wars Celebration. Fingers crossed for that. I'm going to be talking about that and everything like that for Star Wars news in the next Star Wars movies. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, of course, as we also know that the next Star Wars movie would be planned for 2027. And despite if this is going to be part of Rian Johnson's trilogy, a whole trilogy itself, or like a solo film like Rogue One or Solo, A Star Wars Story, is up in the air. We don't really know. Anyway, the director's article goes on to read that the biggest flaw of the sequel trilogy is how Lucasfilm had no overall plan for the movies. Something I'm reiterating here once again. It had a three-part story with no idea where it had to go with any of it, really. This led to each entry drastically shifting the direction of the overall narrative, its characters, and everything like that, making changes that completely undid any previous setup or teases at that. Cough cough, Snoke. The most infamous example of this is how Rian Johnson's unceremoniously killed off Snoke after the story had teased him so much for being the next big bad of Star Wars, kind of like a Palpatine replacement. However, of course, we learned otherwise. The franchise could be completely on ice across the board if it weren't for the extreme success of The Mandalorian, which has prompted an explosion of renewed interest on the Disney Plus platform, of course, as we all have come to love and know at this point. But will fans ever see the sequel characters such as Rey again? There haven't been any concrete confirmations yet. However, fingers crossed that maybe we would see something like that. That is something I honestly, in my own thoughts and opinions, would like to see, and I would like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Would you like to see the return of the sequel trilogy and their characters here, kind of continuing on that overall story? What do you think of this? What do you make of it? From there, that is where the director's article, and as I had mentioned at the beginning of this video, I have this article linked in the description down below. I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Of course, this has been Unofficial Star Wars. Have a great one, guys. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.